You're listening to She's the Business podcast. Today we're sharing the story of how one female entrepreneur went from an overworked professional to a multiple six-figure business mentor living a life of freedom and abundance and joy. So stay tuned. This is coming right up. Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and over the last 25 years in marketing and business, I've helped many brands to launch, scale, and grow, with some of them becoming multi-billion-dollar companies. I'm here to inspire you to get out of your own way and create a profitable, fulfilling business while living the lifestyle you really desire, without all the hustle. So I bring you She's the Business podcast, a unique blend of strategies, tactics, mindset, health, and spirituality, literally everything you need to be the successful leader of your dream business. Made by women, for women, this is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration. My very special guest today is sharing her story of how she came from living in a tiny little European country, being in a toxic relationship with no self-confidence, and then to shift into a place where she's manifested her dream life, an amazing relationship with her husband, a child, and has now been helping other women to do the same, running amazing retreats for women all over the world. And Petia Kolibova-Burns is what she calls an intuitive business mentor. She guides women to intuitively connect with their inner vision so they can experience personal and professional magnetism and become unapologetically abundant. You're going to absolutely love what she shares, the insights, the pieces of her story, which I'm sure many of you can relate to as well. We had such a great chat. And without further ado, let me play the interview for you. And I'm here now with the beautiful Petia. Thank you so much for joining me on She's the Business podcast today.
I'm so excited to be here today. You're the happy ending of my day, so I cannot imagine a better one for today. Thank you for having me.
That's okay. Yeah, we were having a funny chat before we pressed record that I'm technically in the future for Petia because being in Australia and she's in the States, it's Thursday for me, it's Wednesday for her. And that's such a nice way to connect. And, yes, I'm just starting my day. So I've got my cup of coffee here, getting charged up for the day ahead. Now, Petia, you're an intuitive business mentor for women. I'm really keen to understand a little bit more about, well, what does that mean? Like, what do you do in your business? Who do you serve?
I love that question. And I feel like throughout my whole life, I was trying to be strategic, be professional, I got my bachelor's degree in marketing. I got my MBA in business because in my mind, I was thinking I have to work really hard and I have to look professional so people take me seriously. So I was trying to put myself in those boxes of how other people are doing things, and guess how it worked out? It didn't. It never does. So I realized 6 years ago when I started to study a little bit more human design, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but when I started to study this modality that helps you understand who you are through the time and place of where you were born, because it has pieces of astrology and Kabbalah and I Ching, and it is so beautiful because it also brings in the Vedic chakras. It helps you understand who you are. So when I started to study that, I realized I'm not here to be strategic. I'm not here to be detailed oriented. I'm more passive. I'm more feminine. That's how things work for me. And that's what comes to me naturally. So I really had to embrace that. And I started to use my intuition more. I started to work with my feminine because back then I was thinking that feminine energy is weak. I grew up in a very small town, small country, girl with unpronounceable name. And it was really challenging because the examples that I was shown were scarcity and working hard and hustling and envy and jealousy. And deep inside, I knew there must be more. So I had to go back to the basics, reconnect to myself, reconnect to my intuition, balance the masculine and feminine, and ask myself, who am I and what I want to do and with who I want to do it? So when I started
Yeah.
to ask
Yeah.
myself these questions, I realized that I love working with women. I used to host international retreats, Bali, Mexico, here in Las Vegas in States. I used to host live events before all the pandemic happened. It was so life-giving to see women coming to life. And I realized that when women have money, when women experience freedom, they nurture others, they give to others, they pay it forward. It is so amazing to me. So I started to help women to grow their businesses, but not in that hustle, hard work, compare yourself others way. It was bringing them back to themselves so they can see, what is my gift? What is unique about me? How do I want to do things? Because in the past, when I hired mentors, they were hustling, they were working hard, they were single, they have the things I wanted, like, traveling and affluence and all these things,
Mm,
but they didn't get them the way I want to get them.
yeah.
So then I literally became the one that I needed on my journey. I became the one I kept searching for outside of me. And when I became that embodiment of a rich life in all areas, it's not just, full bank account. I have a full heart. I have a beautiful, loving husband. I have now a healthy baby girl, after loss. I'm living in a dream home. Like, I literally, if you would see my vision board, it's like a checklist for me. The house we're living in, it has everything I dream of. So when I embody this, when I started to create multiple six figures in my business, I'm like, I want other women to feel this way. I want other women to have an overflow, because the women who come to me, who want to work with me, they want to help others.
Mm,
So
yeah.
that's how I became who I am today. And this is like super short, right? We didn't do the
Yeah.
hero's journey right
The
there.
condensed story. Yeah, that's amazing. I think, listening to you speak, it's so interesting how I think, I don't know, I really resonated with that whole masculine environment and growing up in it, but I didn't even realize that it was a thing and that I was in it until I'd kind of, I don't know, somehow breached through to the other side. And for me, that didn't happen until I had children and I was going back into this masculine workplace. And, I was because I had my kids a little bit later, I was in my late 30s and I went back to work and I was like, what am I doing here? And I started to see everything through a totally different lens. And I was looking at, the other women who were in the executive suite. I was head of marketing, but there was head of legal. And I was looking at her and I'm like, she is acting like a man, and like the women who are making it in this world literally are turning themselves into men. They are acting in that really bullish way. They're, just everything about them. And I was like, ugh, it's just ick. And I don't like it. I don't think this is a place for me. It really was, but we'd been conditioned for so long, I think, to be like that and to think like that and think you have to have the degree and you've got to work hard. And I've done all of those things. I used to stay at work, like working all the hours, trying to prove myself, trying to prove everything, and get that little accolade, get that raise, get that next promotion, whatever. But I was like, I agree with you. I'm like, surely there's a better way. Why can't I have a life where I'm working, hours that mean I've got time for myself. I can go to the gym. I've got time for my kids. I'm not stressed to the eyeballs and not actually enjoying my life. Today, it's like, why can't I have that and be successful? And I've spoken about it a couple of times, so people who are listening may recall. But, I just had that moment one day where I'd said to my boss, I told him I was pregnant, and he's like, oh, there'll be a job for you when you get back. And I'm like, what do you mean there'll be a job for me? Like, I haven't worked my butt off my whole life to then just be put aside because suddenly now I've got a child. Like, I was like, why? In his mind, that moment of me becoming a mum meant I was no longer going to be able to be successful in my career. And I just thought, that's it. That put the wall up for me. And I was like, that is just so untrue. Why can't we have both? And so I really love how you've explained that, really tuning into your feminine power and energy. I'd love you to talk a little bit about, you did mention in there human design and how that really opened up your eyes as to, some of your own powers and what was possible for you. Would you like to talk a little bit more about the human design aspect? Like, what are you? What's your type? And what did that mean for you?
Yeah, I absolutely love human design. And I love this question because I truly believe that human design gave me permission to be me. I used to think there's something wrong with me because I am a people pleaser, because I love nurturing others. And I was thinking it's a weakness. But then, based on my human design, I'm actually meant to nurture people into the alignment with their purpose. So I started to see myself as someone who is here for a reason. And I know, like, sometimes we're like struggling, like, who am I and why am I here? It took me decades trying to figure it out, right? But human design gave me permission to be me, and seeing that there's nothing wrong with me, that there is a way why we were the way we are and why we are doing things a certain way. And it just brought so much more peace and ease and satisfaction in my life. So I am generator 5-1 sacral. And my husband, I want to bring him on because he is a manifesting generator emotional. And I feel like because I was studying human design, it gave me so much more connection with him, because I used to think like, oh my gosh, like how can he be like happy in the morning and then he's sad at night, and why he's doing 10 things at the, like same time, and why he's skipping steps, and like, I don't get it. Like I start things and I finish it, and he's a starter and I'm a finisher, So it brought me so much more understanding. And then I started to use it in my business, and my clients, not only they started to have faster results, but they also felt seen. Sometimes that's all we really need in our business to move the needle, to feel seen, to feel like there is a need for us and our gifts. And it helped me tremendously. So now every time when I'm, onboarding a new client, I'm like, what's your birthday? I want to know, because it really helps me to understand them and help them in so much more depth. So even though I'm not a human design expert, because I feel like, I can be studying it 100 years and it will be still, scratching surface. I do, work through the basics, and I embody my design, and I work, through my strategy and authority. Those are the basics that we get to like understand. And so then I can help my clients better. And then I can create a strategy for them, because there still gets to be a masculine energy in our business. There still gets to be strategy in our business and planning in our business. But how we approach it is different depending on our design and our profile and who we are. So I love creating the path of least resistance. I used to think I'm lazy because I always look for shortcut. How can I make it easier? How can I make it simpler? And I was thinking I'm lazy, but then I learned it's my design. I'm meant to do it, and I'm meant to actually help others to find it. And also, like, through my channels and my designs, I have the gift to spot on the gifts of others, how I can support them, what to fight for, what to focus on, how to overcome struggles. And so it's really life-giving for me that through my deeper understanding of myself, I can help women to deeper understand themselves. I always tell my clients, strategy, it's cherry on the top. It truly is. Like, if you want to, go on Uncle Google, go on YouTube and look how to 10 times my income, how to start a podcast. Nowadays, you can find completely everything and anything online, especially with the AI, right? Mm-hmm. But no one can really help you to understand yourself on a deeper level. So me holding the mirror to my clients so they can reflect, so they have a safe space to express themselves, find themselves, and learn what are their gifts, how to monetize them, how to scale their business. Because some of my clients are first-time business owners who are still in a corporate and building a business. And some of my clients, they already have successful businesses and they just want to grow and scale and work less, because the equation of work more and you will make more money, it's not fulfilling for a long time. And usually we sacrifice our health, our family, and then we look back with the regret. I never want to feel like that. Like my baby girl,
Yeah.
it's 13 months, and I am very proud that I can be working from home just a couple days. I'm present to her, and I know I won't be regretting this.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely align with that. And it's interesting because like you, I know a bit about human design. I'm not an expert on it, but when I found out that I was a manifesting generator and sort of understood a bit about that, I'm probably similar to your husband, emotional, solar plexus, and 5-1, the challenge solver, whatever. So people who know what that means will be like, okay, they get a few things. But it was like that moment of going, that's why when I've got a team, I'd always be like, why aren't they just like keeping up with me? And like I was moving so fast through things because I'm already 5 steps ahead in my brain as to where we are, and and always like going at a million miles an hour. And I was like, okay, I understand that why I'm doing it, but understanding it's also like the power of actually understanding the strengths, but also to be like, okay, when I'm working with other people, I need to make sure that they're along with me. And so for my team, I'm like, instead of me expecting them to take these big leaps forward, I'm like, I need to slow it down and make sure that they're with me. Otherwise, I've taken off and I'm on the next thing, and they're kind of left behind, trying to follow through on something. And it was really good to have that, that insight into
Yeah.
yourself.
Can I add something?
Yeah. Yes, please do.
As a manifesting generator, so you have a part of manifestor and a part of a generator, right? So the manifestor in you, that's the fast one. That's like going in a speed of light, not looking back and being frustrated because people cannot keep up with you. You don't need to slow down. You don't want to slow down. Why would you do that? Like your nature is just going. What you get to learn is to inform. So informing your team. So it's not about asking them permission, like, hey, guys, what do you think? Or like, I'm thinking to, no, inform them and then they can catch up. But if you will try to slow down, it's going to be frustrating for you. So you don't
It
have to
does.
slow down. Just keep up your speed. My husband is manifesting generated too. And from the very beginning, I told him like, hey, you don't need to ask me permission. You don't need to ask like, can I do this? Can I not do this? Just tell me like, hey babe, I'm going to be busy today. Like I cannot talk, or hey honey, like I'm going out with the friends. Not permission, inform me, and then we are fine. Because he's sometimes so quick that he like, oh, didn't I tell you? I'm like, nope. So learning how to inform so
Yeah.
you can keep up the speed, because you got the speed for a reason.
Yeah, yeah. And I love it. And I think that's one of the things is being able to move fast. And, look back, and some of the businesses I worked for that were, government or huge, multinational corporations were so slow. And I used to find it so frustrating working there because I was like, oh my God, how long can it take to get this one simple thing done? And I'd always see shortcuts and different ways that you could do it. And they were just not the place that would feel good. Whereas when I worked for startups or smaller organizations that can move fast, I was like, yes, I'm in my zone here. This is amazing because everything was going quickly. So, I totally agree with you, and I do love it. I think learning how to work with myself is like not to follow every single thought that pops into my head or every idea, because then, I can move quickly and I'll move quickly on it. But then you can also end up in the place where you're like, okay, there's way too much going on that's really not needed. So I'm all about the, streamline and keep it simple so that you can move fast. But yes, I love that. And you're right. It is absolutely about informing, making sure that people would see your vision, right? Like I've got this vision. My team need to see the vision as well so that they know what it is that we're doing and that they can kind of follow along. Otherwise, you do leave them behind at times. So, yes, love that. Now, I was going to ask you a question. Oh, yeah, I was kind of curious. You mentioned about you had the degree in marketing, you got your master's in business administration. What happened? Like, when did you stop working in a sort of traditional employee environment and start working for yourself? How did you come across this, thought even of what you do now. I'm really curious as to that transition, because I think everybody's got an interesting story to tell around that.
That's really amazing question. And for me, I never wanted to be entrepreneur. Honestly, I saw the worst example of entrepreneurship when I was growing up. In Europe, the entrepreneurs that I saw were people working really hard, really hustling, sacrificing their family, working like whole days, all nights, weekends, living for vacation, drinking a lot, to just like numb. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I never want to do that. Like, that's such a headache. I don't want to deal with people. Like, that was like my idea. 7 years ago, I got fired from my corporate job. And back then, I had 2 clients for social media. I actually hired my first coach from a podcast. He was a podcaster, Rob Dial. And I'm like, I want to work with that man. Like, I want to feel like that. I want to feel motivated. I want to feel inspired. I want to feel empowered. So I hired him as my one-on-one coach. Then I got fired, and he was like so excited I got fired because I kept complaining about my job. So he's like, oh my God, finally. And I was like so shocked, but he became my first client, and one of his clients became my client. So I started social media marketing agency, and I started to work with entrepreneurs to help them, because I saw the vision of like entrepreneurs. They want to focus on the money making activities. They want to have the freedom, and they don't want to be dealing with little things like, like creating posts and doing graphics and recording videos and stuff like that. So I was doing everything for them. So that was my first, dipping my toes into a business. But soon I realized that I basically created a job for myself. And I was working so much more than in my corporate, because there is no on and off switch when you're working for yourself and when you're working from home, when you're unconscious. And back then, I was feeling unworthy, undeserving. I was undercharging. Oh my gosh. Like, now when I tell my clients how much I was charging, they're like, oh, what? I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm teaching you not to do that.
Yeah, I learned it the hard way.
Really the hard way. So I was doing that for like a year and a half, and I was doing like different conferences and investing tens of thousands of dollars into my growth. But then I was like really burned out and physically sick all the time, because I would be working so hard. I would be going to sleep with my laptop, with my phone. There was no breaks. Even when I went on vacation, I was always on my phone, and it was so unsustainable. But I couldn't see it. I was thinking there's no other option. I was thinking that's what it is when you're an entrepreneur. You see, that was my belief.
Yeah, you were living into it. That was like what you saw as what the entrepreneur was, and you had literally just become the living manifestation of it, of what was in your brain.
Exactly.
Sorry.
No, it's true. I love that you're seeing it, what was happening really. And back then, one time, I was traveling to see my grandma in Europe, because I couldn't see her for 6 years. So I went to travel and see her, and she's older and going through a healing journey. So I'm like, when I'm there, when I'm in Europe, I'll be just with her, and I'll be just working when she's napping, or if she's like picking fruit in a backyard, or like, I'm not going to be working. That was the first month, Jessica, when I made my first 5 figures. I made $13,000, and I have never worked less in my life. And I was shocked. I was shocked. I'm like, how is this even possible? And that's when my beliefs started to shatter, because I started to question them. I'm like, I thought I have to work really hard, and I thought it like I have to be like selling really hard. And I didn't. I was showing up. I was showing my lifestyle. I was showing me and my grandma picking up fruit in a backyard. I was actually having fun, and women started to resonate with it. They started to see who I really am. And when I allow myself to show who I really am, the people who were aligned with it started to gravitate towards me, and they were magnetized to who am I being and what I'm doing. And other women, started to message me like, how did you do that? How do you do that? And just like, it went like a snowball from there. So I started to shift from social media into mindset coaching for women and life coaching for women. And ever since, I had a million other labels. It's like, we would need like whole podcast episode, because trying to explain like who I am and what I do, and like in my bio on Instagram or when I'm on a podcast, it's sometimes challenging because I feel like there's just so many aspects to us. But I started to realize that I want women to create freedom and joy in their life and have a time for the things that actually matter to them. Whether you're single or you want to be traveling, whether you want to call in love, whether you want to grow your business, like whatever you truly desire, I want to support them in that. So, I started to learn about generational healing, ancestral healing, Reiki, breath work, Kundalini activation process, neurolinguistical programming, working through subconscious mind, hypnosis, EMDR, like a million things. But I wasn't doing it to get certified and like, oh, now I will be good enough, right? I was doing it because I was genuinely fascinated by it, like I'm now getting accredited because I already do EFT and hypnosis, but I'm getting like the paper for it because I feel like that way I can go deeper. And I just really started to trust my intuition. And it's constant evolution. And I love that you mentioned that who you were and how you were looking at work and the world changed when you became mother. Everything changed for me when I even just the declaration with my husband over 2 years ago when we said like, okay, let's call in our spirit baby. We are open. We want to call in our baby. I honestly, Jessica, I completely freaked out. I freaked out. I had a major like meltdown. How will I do it? How will I be mother? How will I be business owner? Like right now I'm doing in-person retreats back, with baby, I cannot do it. Like I just like I started to listen to other people. I hired coaches and did like a different sessions, to like, what do I do now? What do I do now? But I disconnected from my desires and who I want to be. And I disconnected from the trusting that everything is working out for me, trusting that God source universe always has our back and it's always guiding us and always showing us the next step. I disconnected from that and I had a major income dip, of course, and I started to freak out. How can I have babies if I don't have like stable income? And it's like another snowball, but it's going from like bad to worse. And then we got pregnant with twins and I lost that pregnancy. And I
Oh,
went through
wow.
major depression. I didn't want to deal with people.
Mm.
I didn't want to deal with business. I felt like a failure. Like, I'm like, I cannot even like do the most basic thing we women came here to do. Like, how can I do anything else? How can women trust me that I can help them to live their dream life? So it was, a few months of like depression and thank God for my husband. He's such an amazing man. He's so supportive, so loving. He helped me so much through this. And, I went through a deep healing. And then we got pregnant with our precious baby girl, our rainbow baby, Sophia. And I had to change who I am and how I do business because back then I already was kind of like, like unapologetic about who I am. But having a
Mm-hmm.
baby, I'm like, and then you're so fantastic about it. But I'm like, I'm not going to do interviews for an hour. I'm not willing to do that, because every single time I say yes to something, I'm saying no to her. And that's not what I teach. That's not what I embody. So I created new
Yeah.
boundaries. I doubled my prices. I'm going to be shifting more because we're now planning for a baby number 2. I'm like,
Amazing.
it's time
Mm.
to like change some more things now, but I allowed myself to trust and go through progress. And it, like when you become mother,
Mm-hmm.
your priorities completely change. How you look at the world and what do you want to be doing and how do you want to be doing changes. Like I used to work only like 3 days a week. I feel like you're familiar a little bit with human design, but I always say like I have a soul of projector. I don't want to work. But it's just now I work 2 days a week and my longest busiest day that I would have, it's like 3 to 4 hours.
Mm. Yeah. So resonate with that. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously having part generator, part manifester, I love to get in. I love my business. I love what I do. I could easily work long days. The thing is, like after becoming a mother, I realized what I'm not being the best me. when I'm expending all my mental energy and all of that into my business, it meant that, I was like, well, I'm tired because, when they're young, you're up during the night, you're not getting enough sleep. And it's like, well, why am I giving all of me into the business when actually the most important part of me is really living this life right now and being a great mom? And it made me kind of realize, hey, I've really got to take care of myself first. Like the business, like you said, it's about making some changes and some structure changes. And, so many women, like I've always loved to help women who are mothers as well, and just finding that, what do you call it? It's like they're up against that barrier of like, well, I want the business, but I also want all the things about being a great mom and having all the time and the freedom. And just sort of seeing like, well, it can work. It just means that we're going to change the way that you're looking at your business and actually how you're working as well. Because it's not that you just suddenly go, oh, like some people go, well, I've got to then change all my pricing and that's never going to work and my business will fail. It's like, well, yes, your pricing changes, but maybe it's like how you're actually offering the services. So it's not just this one thing, like sticking a new number on something you're already doing. It's like, no, let's look at how you're doing it. Is this sustainable? Does this work for you? Right. And like through that, changing it. So I love that you shared that, because I think that it's really interesting. I don't know what it was, but you do change something, and you changes in your body, in your physiological, in your subconscious mind when you become a woman. And for me, I think, I was just resonating so much with what you were describing that you went through. I think this whole intuitive side and really that just started coming naturally, like downloads, like all sorts of things, like to do with my own health. I go to the doctor and I'd ask a question, they'd tell me something, I'd be thinking, well, I don't think you're right. And I'm like, where does that ever come from? Like I've never ever questioned it before. And suddenly I was like, no, I don't actually believe what you're saying is right. And I was really noticing that happened literally as starting, from when I became a mum. Of course, you had to have those experiences where you do trust them, and then you find out, oh, I shouldn't have trusted them. I should have listened to myself earlier. And it only just sort of reinforced that. And I thought, there is something in this. There is a lot of power within us, this intuitive, like we know more than what we think we know, and we've got access to so much more. And, when are we going to actually stop trusting everything else, looking at Google, looking at, asking random strangers, and start listening to ourselves and actually start paying attention to what's within? Like, I just think there's so much in that. I love that that's something that you help people to do, because yeah, I don't know how to do it. I just know that it's available, right? And it starts happening.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah. Now, do you have something that you'd really love to, we haven't touched on, that you really wanted to leave people with today? Because I'm conscious of time. I want you to get back to your baby girl, and then we can, share how people can connect with you as well if they want to connect with you and reach out on socials.
I love that question. And the thing that I want to leave listeners with is to realize that you're perfectly made for your purpose. Meaning the way you are, the way you see the world, the way you express yourself, your experiences, like everything led you up here. And when you can really embrace that, when you can really understand that, you stop trying to model other people. You stop trying to like give your power away. You understand and embody the version of you that knows you came here for a reason, and that you can be abundantly paid for your gifts, and you can be experiencing this beautiful fulfillment and satisfaction in your life. But it all starts with you coming back to yourself and trusting who you are. And when you start to see that, everything else becomes easier, because you stop questioning yourself. You know who you are, you know your values. And then you allow people who align with those values come and reward you generously.
Oh, that is amazing. What beautifully said. Thank you so much for that. So if people would love to connect with you on your social media, or where do you hang out? Where can they best find you?
So I love Instagram or Threads. It's just my name, Petia Kolibova. I also created backup account because Instagram decided to suspend my account for a little bit, and then I got it back. So I'm like, I'm not going to play with this. For any mamas who are listening, I have a new account, Holistically Minded Mama. And I just love it. I'm having so much fun to share my journey as a mompreneur, and it's really real and raw. So I feel like for any mothers who are listening, like you're not alone, and you can grow a human, you can grow a business. So those are like two favorite places, plus of course my podcast, Unapologetically Abundant.
Amazing. Thank you. Well, we'll make sure all those are hooked up in the show notes below so you can go through and connect with Petia. Thank you for your time today. This has been such an amazing chat. I really love when we get to come together and, have these conversations and, share some things that can help somebody, even if you've just taken one little piece out of this conversation today. I hope that it's helped somebody who's listening. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Now, before you head off, I've got something really exciting to share with you. Now, every year I host a live workshop inside my Business Jam program. That is a specific workshop on finding your niche and your ideal client. It is the Expert Zone Express workshop. We literally get it done in about 2 hours because I do quite a lot of coaching and feedback during the session. You come in, join me live, go through the steps to identify where is your expert zone in your market niche so that you can stand out with authority and attract the right clients. And it's happening again in February. So this month, it's coming up on Wednesday, the 26th, that is in Australian time. And I've decided this year I'm actually going to open it up with a live invitation for other people to come and join us. So it doesn't matter if you're not currently a client, if you would like to come and join me for the Expert Zone Express workshop and finally nail your niche, like really nail it, get that expert zone defined, know exactly who you're speaking to, then this is the workshop for you. So to get all the details and to register and grab your seat, head to jessicaosborne.com/workshop. I will hook that up in the show notes for you so you can scroll down, click on the link, go through and jump in and get a seat now. I don't know how many I'm going to make available, so if you see them, they're still available. It means that there is still space for you, but please don't hang around because I'm not going to have it open-ended. I do have a limit on the number of people that can attend. I will be watching registration, so it's just open for first and best dressed. I would love to have you there, and we can kick off your year with really great clarity, confidence, so that you can show up with that confidence and really be the authority, the go-to person in your niche. So once again, head to jessicaosborne.com/workshop and you'll find all the details and how to get your seat and register. Talk to you then. Bye.